Yes, baby. Cool. What's up, guys? Today I'm really pleased to have Brooke Schnittman. Is that how I pronounce her name?
It is.
Okay, so
It
this
is. You
wonderful
got it
lady,
perfect.
I think of her as the queen of ADHD coaches. No offense to all other ADHD coaches, but you just so productive. You have this like machine behind you, and it's like blows my mind. It's a little ADHD boy that's been learning all these things that you do so much. Anyway, she's really cool and she's kick-ass. So she's got a lot of knowledge drops to join. You're welcome, Brooke. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, I have a
Hello.
very high barrier to entry right now with being queen bee and all that. I got to live up to your potential.
Ah, well, we're all ADHDers, aren't we? So we're just going through this struggle bus life sometimes, you know. And I'm glad we're all on this journey together, and we can be like, okay, we know this knowledge, but sometimes it's still caveman in there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sometimes I feel like I would have been much better during caveman days. I mean,
Yeah,
not
we should
having a
start a
cell
tribe.
phone would have made my life a lot easier.
Just
I
watching
always
that
wonder,
fire all
like,
day.
I always wonder, like, if we built a new society for ADHDers, what would you like it to look like? Yeah, a tribe or something in a field.
Comfortable. Yes, I love that. Comfortable blankets,
Oh,
right? Like the soft texture, but
Not like
also
heavy.
weighted. Yeah, but not too heavy, but also airy at the same time. Just right. Like
The whole
the
world is
bears.
blankets.
nice.
Exactly. Stand-up desks, fidgets, and rolly chairs.
Ooh,
Um,
lots
yeah,
of
people you
hugs.
could be weird with. Lots of
Yeah.
hugs. Food ready for you. Like you don't have to think.
Mm. Oh
And
my
has
gosh.
this
Yeah,
idea of
zero
like the
thinking.
circular house.
Yeah.
And it's like
Ooh.
you start your day and you wake up and then you turn left and then the first room is like the bathroom to brush your teeth and then the next room is the kitchen to make your breakfast and then you just like follow the house
Genius.
around for each of the things you
Genius.
need to
But we
do
would
for the
get so
day.
bored after a while and then we would want to change it all up again.
But
Yeah.
there's a
Oh
slide in the
man.
middle, so it's fine.
God, I would love a slide. Yeah,
Exactly.
I sometimes think a big field would just be so nice. A big field where we can roam around. There's something about roaming around. Do you get that inside you? That you just want to roam around? I don't know. Is that just me?
Explorer, hence the name of your
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. ADHD Explorers for life.
I just want to be a little baby like my 19-month-old and just see new things. Touch,
Aw.
feel, experience, right? All the good stuff. I remember when I was in
Yeah.
Disney World, like when I was little, I thought it was the most magical place in the world. Now I'm like, "Oh, please don't take me there."
That's so loud.
Gosh. Maybe we can
But
have a Disney
anyway,
World
So,
section.
Brooke, we have had you on for webinars before on ADHDers. So people have got a chance to catch you on our lives. But yeah, for those listeners who have not heard of you before, what is it that you do? What is an ADHD coach?
sure. So I'm an ADHD coach and now I am an author. I was told that I have to say that
Author!
because we don't celebrate our wins enough as an ADHDer, right? So we're just like constantly in motion, going to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And we forgot that we like worked really hard to do something big. So I'm going to say
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
that.
Yeah,
And
congrats on
an
writing that.
ADHD,
Mega.
thank you, Ben.
A
Thank you,
book is a
Addie.
long-term
Thank
project.
you. Oh, yeah. Long-term project. Yeah. And actually, I'm going to be really vulnerable here right now. I was at that last 95% recently with the book, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I could get this out. I got to edit this. I got to edit it. I don't know if the cover is good enough. All of that. So today, I get a message from someone on Instagram saying, "Hey, Brooke, I'm really enjoying your book so far, but I just want to let you know that momentum equals mass times velocity, not mass times volume. It really doesn't change the context of your book, but I just wanted to give you a heads up if you want to make that edit." I'm like, thank you so much
Aw.
because Here I was striving for perfection, and like, of course, we're not perfect. And we have to like give ourselves the chance and the hug that we deserve for doing something big. And I know authors make changes to their books all the time. But anyway, back to your question, Addie. What is an ADHD coach? So an ADHD coach is someone who works alongside a person or a group, and they facilitate their learning. They help them seek awareness, create actionable steps towards their goals, help them understand their strengths, their motivation to do things, their values, and helps them to get unstuck a lot faster than if they were to do it on their own. We can act as many different things. We can be the cheerleader from the sidelines. We can help them acknowledge their wins, help them understand their lesson learned, their emotional regulation, their how their ADHD plays into their everyday, and how to embrace their ADHD rather than see it as a challenge and use those strengths to thrive. Because I talk about it all the time that I do. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I do see ADHD as a superpower. And I think that, unfortunately, not everyone has the resources or time or are in a place to be able to manage their ADHD. But when and if you can totally thrive.
I love that you share
Yeah, we
that
actually talked
perspective.
about it last week on our episode of where we talked about reframing. So like using different words. And we were like, yeah, there's that idea of talking about ADHD as a superpower. And I said, I think if it works for you, then use it. Like if that is how it helps you to do the best in your life, then yeah, go for it. Use it as a superpower. Why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We just need to harness what we're good at and what we're passionate about.
Yes.
100%.
Isn't that the secret of everything? Like, what is it with finding your niche as an ADHDer that just helps us like fly along? I find that fascinating.
You'll avoid it like the Black Plague if you do not like something. If you're not good at it, you don't like it, it's not exciting to you, it doesn't motivate you. If it does not align with your core values, you're going to reject it. And, I just was listening to one of my past episodes with someone who was talking about how he hated school. School was not designed for him as an ADHDer. But he is successful now because he created something and he ran with it and he hustled and he worked hundreds of hours a week to make it, right? And he doesn't even see it as a job. So if you, neurotypical or not, love what you do, you can create Microsoft, right? Bill Gates has ADHD. Richard Branson, you could create Virgin Airlines, ADHD. You can literally be called Einstein, right? Because he had ADHD and autism suspected. I mean, there's so many successful people out there, and they were lucky enough to find out what worked for them and take chances, and also be uncomfortable with, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? And take those risks.
There's something to be said about obsession. Like I feel like my favorite ADHD people are Nikola Tesla and Leonardo da Vinci. And I feel like they use.
Are you an
their
artist?
minds. Yeah, I feel like I'm an inventor or something at core, And I feel like they had this ability to like visualize in their mind, and they also trained their senses. They trained the ability to be like Leonardo da Vinci was always talking about being training the senses when you read his biography. And I think there's something about there's something about grounding and training yourself out of that like dissociative pattern. And there's something to be said, and I'm splitting my question here, but there's something to be said about.
Are you dissociating
obsession.
right now?
All the time. But I was saying there's something about obsession, like you were talking about Bill Gates and hustling, and it doesn't feel like a job. There's something about riding obsession that like I see in successful ADHDers, and that's what they've all done, and that's what they all follow. And I know there are like roadblocks that get in the way, like emotional dysregulation and, you know, intense trauma from the past
Overwhelm,
and these
underwhelm.
Life.
things. Totally. So
Yeah,
I think that
life. Exactly.
some people stumble across it, but some people like just I think sometimes you do need a guide, like an ADHD coach, or you need some sort of mirror to see what is actually going on in you. And I just wish I could like
100%. So many
drop that
times-
out. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, that's okay. So many times people are like, oh, wow, like I knew this about myself, but I didn't believe it. Thank you for like, and I'm like, oh, I'm not saying anything that you haven't said, you know, like you said it, but now you're hearing yourself saying it. To your point, the mirror piece, or like just having someone who actually believes in them, since they don't believe in themselves yet because they don't have that confidence, and like shows them that, like you said, the guide shows them the way step by step, their milestones, help them celebrate those wins along the way. It does so much for increasing hope and confidence, which, as you mentioned, life, PTSD, anxiety, so many things have stopped so many people with ADHD from breaking that barrier and becoming truly successful because of the negative self-image.
I
On
really
that
want to
note
ask you,
of like
yeah.
obsession.
Yeah, sorry, Addy, you asked something. Yeah.
I
I'll save
would
it.
love to know from both of you what has been your rabbit hole or your hyperfixation of the week. Like, what is something that you have been obsessed with this week? Because we try and celebrate the way that the ADHD brain works, and that it goes down these funky little rabbit holes and finds new interesting things.
I got
You
one.
guys want to go first?
This week
Yeah.
I've been hyper obsessing with generating images with AI. Because I'm really passionate about like, to me, like I had such like intense negative pattern of ADHD, guilt cycles and disassociation, right? So I've been learning to ground, and I've been grounding through connecting with the body and the sensations of the body. And I'm feeling those emotions and where they are and labeling them and getting an understanding of what I'm feeling and when. And so what I'm doing is I'm like using AI to visualize those sensations so I can make like a comic book about like how to feel inside interoception, how to train your interoception, that sense of feeling inside. That's been my like hyper obsession.
I love that.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. Yeah, it's important.
That's such a great idea, because with ADHD, you know, it's so hard to visualize sometimes. And for you to create a picture of what those sensations and feelings look like can really help people with object permanence, working memory.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, well.
So kudos
keep
to you,
making
Ben.
it. Oh, thanks. Yeah. And yeah, just I'm getting obsessed about loads of random things. What about you, Brooke?
All right, so I feel like a fraud here, but I'm gonna just be totally honest here. I recommend people don't do this, but I have been on my phone a lot this week because it's been a crazy month with my book launch and a Forbes article, and I have a ADHD Ed Camp coming up this Saturday, an event, and then I'm speaking at an event in New York. So it's just like one thing, and then I'm being nominated for Best Podcast. So everything is just coming all at once, and my executive dysfunction is going haywire. So you know what we do to get dopamine, we stare at our phone and we get those dopamine kicks when we get stuff that come up. So I've been scrolling the Signal Awards to see where I'm placed at on the podcast. I've been scrolling KDP to see how many people have bought my book. I've been looking at Eventbrite to see how many people saved their seats for tickets. Like, it's just so much. That has been my obsession this week.
All the fruits are coming at once.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
we appreciate the
Effort
honesty.
put in.
Like,
We need to celebrate all your
sometimes-
wins.
yeah, we get into these. Hang on.
And we need to space things out in the future.
Note to self-organizing.
I really want to talk to you about that podcast, though, because I think that over the past year, I've discovered Gabor Mate and the whole connection in my life with CPTSD and trauma, and how that's like triggering me into disassociation and guilt trips all the time. And so I'm, you know, I've been in the ADHD community for about 4 years since learning about diagnosis, and there's this like status quo understanding of ADHD, you know. And then Gabor Mate comes along, and he's like this trained psychologist, 20 years, and then he did all this plant medicine, and he like grokked the holistic understanding of it all. And you've spoken with him, and you've digested. I'm sure you understand what he's talking about, and I just find it really interesting because I really agree what he says, you know, his understanding of it, and I wanted to know, like, how has it been for you, like,
My
digesting that? Yeah,
it's very interesting, and actually that's the episode that's nominated for #1 episode in self help and self-care. So
it's awesome.
I think he's a terrific person. I really do. And what I like about him is he doesn't suggest anything that he himself hasn't felt, right? And he shares like his traumas and his weaknesses as well. So he's very vulnerable and real. He suggests that ADHD is trauma-based and stress-based, which I talked to Dr. Hallowell about that. And some ADHD diagnoses can be caused by trauma, but not all ADHD diagnoses. Sorry, my 19-month-old.
No,
Apologize.
We were babies once.
So to say that everyone who has ADHD, that it comes from a stress gene, it's not scientifically proved. It's a theory on his end. But I do believe it's nature and nurture, right? It's a mix of both. And, you can be born with ADHD and it can manifest through epigenetics over time, or it won't, depending on what you've experienced. So it's so complex, like you mentioned. And I do believe that so many, I think it says that like 70% of adults have experienced a traumatic event with ADHD. But I would challenge that and say that 100% of adults with ADHD have experienced at least one traumatic event, because trauma is different to everyone. You say that you might have complex trauma, right? So it's stacked over time. But, you could see a scary movie and you can feel trauma from that. So trauma is defined differently for everyone. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
My ex once told me, you're so easily traumatized. And I was like, you can't say that. Like, everyone experiences events differently. Also, you assaulted me. But like, you can't just tell someone that like they're easily traumatized. Ugh. And maybe everyone experiences things differently.
Yeah, exactly. And like, is he telling you that you're sensitive, like, or traumatized? Is he telling you that you're hypersensitive? Because as an ADHDer, we very often are, because of our past. And and it can be a superpower of ours to be sensitive. We can be really like have that sixth sense in us about what other people are feeling, and they don't even have to say it, right? We can understand empathy. We have so many positives with hypersensitivity, but yes, at the same time, it can be debilitating as well.
Yeah, what was I going to say? I just started reading Scattered Minds, actually, and yeah, it's interesting, like
book. That
comment that he kind of makes. It's like pretty near the start of it, where he's like, yeah, I don't buy the whole like hereditary side of ADHD, and it's like, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, I definitely do think he has some really good stuff to say.
His view is that we have a genetic disposition to sensitivity, and then when you combine that with a young environment between the ages of 2 and 3, or when you're learning to regulate your nervous system and co-regulating, learning how to come down from fight or flight when your parent says there, my child, it's okay. That's when we learn to regulate our nervous system, and it's that absence of that co-regulation and emotional acuity that two forces combined makes what we call ADHD. That's what he says.
So from the research that I've read and from some other ADHD experts, that can be the case sometimes, but it's not 100% how ADHD is formed. But I think that Dr. Gabor Mate is a brilliant man. I think he's an amazing trauma specialist. And I think he means well and does wonderful things for people and the community. And I think just in general, with anything, you should do your homework, listen to what's out there, and make your own decisions on what you think is best.
But yeah, I can definitely see that, like, if a child has ADHD from birth, if they're given that, like, love, attention, space to grow, space to do the things that they need to do, that their symptoms are probably going to be present in a less problematic way, right? Because they are
100%.
given this, like, well-rounded, like, space. So it's just like
Exactly.
take care of your kids, basically. Message.
I know. There was one part of his book where it said, make sure to not break eye contact with your child. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
I have to stare her in the eyes like a deer. Okay, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm not breaking eye contact.
No
So every time I look at her, yeah, exactly. I'm like, you go first.
What do you do? Just wait until she looks away? What? That's hard.
That can be traumatic, apparently. So I keep that in the back of my head. I do the best that I can. I think we all do the best that we can as individuals, right?
I'd love to know more
How are you
about...
finding parenting, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I was and feel like I am a high achiever. And once I got pregnant, I did get off of Adderall. I still stayed on my antidepressants because I believe it's 57% of women who have ADHD that get postpartum depression afterwards. So it was important to me that that doesn't happen and that I'm healthy and the baby's healthy. So I chose with the help of my doctor to stay on that. So anyway, fast forward or rewind. I had to take a lot off my plate being pregnant and then being a new mom because I wanted to be present. I also wanted to have a thriving business, and I wanted to be a great wife and a great stepmom and a great tennis player. So how do I be great at everything? You do the best you can. So I had to say no to some things in my business. I had to delegate some things. I had to say no to some things, like I have a nanny instead of watching my child full time. I see my daughter after work and before work. So I set boundaries and I do the best that I can. But I love being a mom.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
It's extreme. Yeah, as you saw, my daughter ran in here and she says, "Hi, Mama. Hi, Mama." I just want to melts my heart.
One thing I'd really love to ask you, Brooke, is you've got this team of ADHD coaches, all with different specialties. And I'd love to know, what makes a good ADHD coach? It seems like on Instagram, everyone's a bit of an ADHD coach these days. And what do you think makes a good ADHD coach for you?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. When I became an ADHD coach, there was only a handful of us. And I think it's great that there are a lot of ADHD coaches out there because there's a whole community of people who need our help. But to be a great ADHD coach, first, you need experience. But how do you get experience without coaching, right? So sometimes you just have to, start with someone. And then also you have to hold the space for your clients. I was talking to Dr. Hallowell about this. Like, it's not about the coach, it's about the client. So if you have a conceited coach, or if you have someone who talks about themselves too much, that's not the right fit. You have to really hire someone who listens, and like, as the client, you're the one setting the agenda. So the coach just helps guide you through it. So I think a great ADHD coach is someone who's experienced, someone who is holding space, someone who's a lifelong learner, because ADHD research and information is rapidly growing. So you can't be left in the dust and not keep up to date with the latest science and research. So someone who does their homework, knows what's out there, and is willing to grow too, because you know, your clients are looking to grow. So you should be growing as well.
Okay.
I love what you say about holding space.
And what qualifications? What qualifications can you like look for when you're looking for a coach, to make sure that they're like accredited?
So there's the International Coach Federation, which is like the golden standard for for coaching, period. I do have that. There's 3 different levels. There's ACC, PCC, then MCC. So I'm a PCC. And then there's some really great schools out there. We actually do ADHD coaching certification as well. And it's through ICF, International Coach Federation. You get 30 credits. Yeah. But then, you know, there's ADGA, where that has gotten really popular over the last couple of years, people going through their program and then getting certified through ICF. There's JST, which is what I went through. And then there's IACT and Coach Approach. So there's all different ADHD coaching programs. What I will say is some people do call themselves an ADHD coach without any training. Be careful with that. Just because you have ADHD and you might be an influencer or a mentor, don't call yourself a coach unless you've been trained, right? And then there's some like Mickey Mouse programs out there that, you know, you take a weekend course and you're certified. I'm not knocking it, but be very transparent as a coach on what your background is to the client and let them decide if that's enough for them.
So then as the client, maybe ask those questions when you're doing that initial consultation, say, like, where did you train, and what, you know, certificates do you have, and how many other clients do you have, just to get a feel for where they're coming from.
Yeah, their experience. Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then maybe even ask them to share some of their clients' information if the client's okay with it, so they can get that person's feedback on how they worked, because coaching is an investment. Also, as a coach, you should be giving at least 30 minutes of your time for a discovery call so the person can get to know you. You should, as a client, exactly, as a client, how do you know what you're getting if you don't meet with someone from the company to understand the program and see if you're a good fit? It might not be the right company, and you might not be the right fit for the company either. So, like, it's a mutual agreement here.
I like that. And so there's a lot of people that, you know, we've got a lot of followers who are on their journey solo in a way. They don't have the resources to hire a coach. And I wanted to ask you, like, because we were talking about therapy the other day, and we were thinking about, like, what about those people that can't afford therapy or can't afford a coach? What kind of things would you recommend for those kind of people?
Absolutely. There's a lot of low cost or free options out there. Get into some sort of community of support. So ADA, Chad, Attitude Magazine, all these resources pump out information in groups at a very, very low cost. We offer a body doubling group with accountability. If you buy our book on Kindle for $9.99, you can join a lifetime body doubling group with our clients and alumni. So you don't have to go right into coaching or therapy. And sometimes therapy is covered by insurance too, if you have the same insurance as the provider, and if they accept insurance. So I would just start with a community of support, whether it be, on social media, whether it be a body doubling community, whether it be an ADHD support group like Ada or Chad.
Cool. Yeah, we have a Discord. People can join.
Yeah.
Just gonna throw it in there. It's the right time.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we have like a
just...
Patreon. You can sign up and then you can go on Discord and chat to other people who understand. And yeah, sometimes it's like, hey, can someone check in on me on like 3 hours that I've done this thing? And even just that like little bit of accountability can help with getting stuff done.
It helps with the momentum. And one thing I forgot to mention, but this will be coming out after it already passed, but every year in October, I host a free ADHD Ed Camp in person and on Zoom. And this year is our 5th year doing it. And we usually have about 600 people who sign up with 30 ADHD experts talking, psychiatrists, psychologists, coaches, mentors, educators, schools, consultants, advocates, anything you can think of. And we do that for that exact reason. Like some people just don't know where to turn, don't have the resources for it. So we offer free stuff out there. Just, do your homework. And if you're not going to be able to join our ADHD Ed Camp, you can join our Facebook group and get support there for free. Until the next one.
Wow. Yeah.
Thanks for such a fulfilling answer. And I think then the next step up is if you have maybe if you got 20 or $10, you can get some really good books. And I just want to congratulate you on the book you just finished writing. Like, what a long-term project.
Thank you.
That's a lot of time to wait for the dopamine hit. You know what I'm saying? Activate your ADHD potential. So you've got in there. Yeah, well done. First of all, you've got.
Thank you.
You say it has 12 steps. That you take people through. I was wondering if you could share an overview of these steps, so we can get an understanding of like what you feel is a good framework for growing with ADHD.
Absolutely. So thank you for the acknowledgement. As an ADHDer, we very often just go to the next thing without, celebrating our wins. So thank you, Coach Ben. Appreciate you mentioning it.
Coach Ben.
First of all, just answering your question real quick. So the 12-step journey is actually my 3C activation signature process that I've been doing since I started coaching 5 years ago in 2018. So what the steps are.
Hello, little nugget. Welcome to the world. I love you.
Oh.
Can we start over?
Oh, that's so sweet.
Do you have an editor?
We love her. Yeah, we can make.
I do. Okay, so the 12-step journey is going through 3 different modules. So the first module is gaining awareness of your ADHD brain, slowing down the chaos of your ADHD while learning about how to make small incremental habit changes. So we talk about the 1%, but in order to make those incremental changes, we have to really start at the core and like the hierarchy of ADHD needs. So if we're not regulated, then it's really hard to be productive. So we want to start with the basics. And then also while you're starting with the basics, get the chaos out of your head and onto paper and start with one small action that you've been waiting to do. Not necessarily set like big, high goals right away, because when you're chaotic, it's really hard to flow and to see the future and know what you want and know your values and all those things. So like, we're just going to start creating some traction and taking care of our regulation and our nervous system. Then from there, then you learn about your values while pumping up those habits, right? You learn about your strengths. You learn about your motivation for doing things. Once those 4 steps are done, then we move on to the next phase, which is the consistency phase. So we're then being persistent about consistency, and we're doing more like time management hacks. We're creating actual goals at that point, bigger goals. Now that we know ourselves, we've slowed down the ADHD chaos because we now have the space for it. And we're learning the productivity hacks that you've been wanting to know for so long, but you couldn't actually implement them long term because you had too much chaos going on. Then week after week, you're still creating action towards your goals. You're learning how to be aware of your time blindness, your procrastination, your organization, your productivity. And the final module is the confidence stage. Because you've been creating this traction and momentum for 8 weeks or however long it's taking you to get through those 12 steps, then you're stretching your goals. Then you're having uncomfortable conversations that you've been avoiding for a really long time because of our people-pleasing tendencies. You're delegating. You're mapping out the next 3 months, and you're likely feeling at that point like an aha sense of, I don't know how I got here. I wanted to focus on this, and I did all these other things along the way because I was building that momentum. And now I'm feeling at a place of less chaos, more consistency in my actions and habits, and more confidence. So those are the 12 steps. Obviously, it goes into more detail. We talk about optimal focus times, regulating your dopamine naturally. And then I also talk about what stops us from those 12 steps, which is the 10 ADHD disruptors.
Wow.
So, yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'll share the 10 ADHD disruptors if you want.
Oh my God. Can you please? Yeah, please, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me them.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Please.
All right.
But that was
so
amazing.
I created thank you. I created the ADHD disruption cycle. And what it is you can go in any order at any time and feel these 10 disruptors all at the same time. So I started with overwhelm. Okay. From overwhelm, right? You know what happens. We shut down. Then we feel emotional dysregulation. We compare ourselves to other people. We then have those major RSD moments, and then we have burnout. From burnout, then there's like those F responses that you talk about, Ben, those freeze, fight, fib, fawn, flight. And we totally are burnt out, right? So we do nothing. When we do nothing for a long period of time, then we're
guilty.
bored and we feel guilty. So we're underwhelmed, right? So when we're underwhelmed, then we're looking for an exciting new idea or opportunity to get that dopamine kick. So we do, and we get that dopamine kick, and then we hyper focus, and then we get overwhelmed, and the cycle starts back up. So the 12 steps helps you anywhere on that 10 disruptor cycle to get out of there quickly. And you can review those 12 steps over and over again.
Cool. So remind us, what were the 3 C's?
That control, consistency, and confidence. So 3C activation. In the book, I call it the CWB 12-step momentum building journey, because you're building momentum to eventually maintain that momentum.
So your book,
cool.
Does your book go through these steps? Because I know you have your course, right? And then you have your book. So it's the same.
My course is in the book.
Oh, great.
My course is in the book.
Oh my gosh.
So for anyone who cannot afford my course or my group, which is our signature process, and it is our most expensive product, buy the book for $9.99. Share it with your friends. I don't care. I won't know. And we actually have our goal is to help people, right? So we have a downloadable link in here. If you have the ebook, you can just click it. Or if you just type it in, it's a bit.ly link where you can download the the PDFs in here because it's a workbook and it's a book. So the 12 steps are in here, and I know how people can be sometimes with their stuff because I'm like that as well. You might not want to write in your book because it's your book, right?
Precious.
And it's precious, right? And it's going to sit on your shelf and it's going to collect dust, and no, it's precious. So you can download the worksheets, the 12 worksheets that come along with it, and print it out as many times as you want and redo it every 3 months when you create goals, because this book is for people who haven't met their potential yet but are high achievers and are ready to do that.
Cool. Where can people get your book?
Anywhere where books are sold, but Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, but on my website, coachingwithbrooke.com/activate book, you can see all of the different places that you can find it.
Cool. We'll put a link
so
to
nice
that probably in the show notes.
It's nice that you have a framework that
Thank you.
encapsulates all of it, like, because I think we get tidbits
that.
off social media and we're trying to put it together from all these different directions, and that is overwhelming as hell, trying to work it out in the noise.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, the free option, unfortunately, can drive us mad. And we are like grasping for straws with ADHD sometimes, like taking a piece here, taking a piece there. But then it could also make us feel worse about ourselves because we're trying this, we're trying that, we're trying this, we're trying that, but we're not meeting with success because we don't even know if it's the right thing for us. And there's no linear path, not like there is a linear path with ADHD, but there's no like direction and there's no accountability. So with these 12 steps, I created it because ADHDers, when I was coaching them one-on-one, they wanted a group. So this organically came together with my special education teaching background. Every week when I had this beta group in 2018, I was finding the themes that the ADHDers were struggling with and creating a lesson. And then they would come back again and there was a similar theme and I would create a lesson. And we did this 6 times and they loved it so much that I did another 6 times and added those 6 with 6, those 12 lessons together to create our signature program. And of course, it's, been fine-tuned over time and edited based on new research and new tools. But this is the signature process that I've had Fortune 500 companies take. I've taught it to Deepak Chopra's company, Chopra Global, Attitude Magazine, International ADHD Conference. I've had small business owners triple their income, people like save their relationships with their spouses, doctors who are able to do notes and then spend time with their fiance after being in the hospital and working. So it can literally help you if you are an ADHD, or I've had grad school students finish their thesis. And we encourage you, if you purchase the book, to join our Discord community so you can feel the support of ADHDers together.
That's
we do
great.
heal through community. Wow, I'm kind of mind blown, to be honest, because I don't know. It's like when you said the steps, I'm like, okay, yeah, I've gotten more regulated with my nervous system, and okay, like I've thought about values, but not in a while, and it's kind of like, oh, I have a lot to think about in my life now. It's good.
Listen, we are all at different. It is a map, and it's so cool too because like even though I created this, I look back and I do the program because I am a high achiever and we all need a reset sometimes. So we all get to different stages of our life. Addie, you asked me how it was being a parent. Like there are so many things that I can't do now as a parent, or I am doing as a parent. So I have to like totally change my priorities around, where before I felt very structured with my priorities and now my priorities have shifted, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you got to just make that change.
You mentioned
like
one
it
of
acts as
the
a kind of
disruptors
OS
being
update. Sorry, go on.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an SOS update for sure.
Yeah.
you mentioned one of the disruptors being overwhelm. And actually, one of the questions we got from the community was some healthy ways to manage stress and overwhelm.
Yes.
Start with what you're not doing for yourself. So literally, and I have a lot of different examples, and don't do this just because I told you or someone else told you. Think about what you're not doing for yourself. Is it that you're not drinking enough water? You're not getting reliable sleep? You are, not eating every 3 to 4 hours. Think about those things and do one of those things right away. Okay. And try to do that consistently. Whereas, listen, I know consistency can be challenging for us. So try to do it as much as you can. The one thing that's easiest. So if you have a hard time eating because you have poor executive functioning skills and you don't like to plan to eat and you don't like to, you don't like the texture of certain food, get food that's easy to you. Like maybe I have Ensure. So I live with a family of ADHDers. My 2 stepsons have ADHD. My husband has ADHD. I have ADHD. When I was pregnant, when I had my baby, the hospital provided me Ensure, right? It was so good. My stepsons love it. That's what they have for breakfast in the morning, okay? It's easy. They shake up their Ensure and they have their chocolate shake. It's a chocolate protein shake. And it is so easy. It's 230 calories. And it's just a very easy, quick way of getting nutrients into your body. Very often, Ensure is given to people who have eating disorders, who need to get calories into their body. So this is just a very quick thing to get into our body so we can actually feel energized and more focused and less overwhelmed. Another thing that your listener could do is just go outside. We all have the luxury of just going outside. You don't have to pay anything. Go outside, look at nature. That is the most natural thing that you can do to regulate your nervous system. Walking outside, Ben, I'm sure you know about EMDR based on the trauma pieces that you were talking about, but walking outside and looking at trees, that is EMDR. That's natural EMDR. And then you get the sun, and then that's vitamin D.
I walked on some crunchy leaves today,
which makes you happier.
It's great.
Wait, did you do barefoot?
No, I was in my boots, but even that, the boots, barefoot.
Yeah, that crunchiness. I love it. So Ben was grounded, and Addie loved the crunchy sound. So good, so good.
The most ADHD podcast ever.
Sometimes. Oh my gosh. You know what I did? I went outside. I literally just opened my door. I'm grateful to live in Florida at this point. I moved here 6 years ago, and I have a chair right outside my door. And literally, it could be 20 seconds. I literally just sit outside and stare off to space, and nothing interrupts me. And that is seriously, that's a form of meditation and mindfulness, just zoning out outside. And there's something that it does for me. And I just come back and I close the door and I'm inside and I'm much better after that. So for your overwhelmed listener, think of something that she's not or he's or they are not doing and do that. And then one other thing that I would tell them to do as well is get the chaos out of their brain and onto paper. Write down every chaotic thought that they're thinking of, okay? Because when there's something about getting those thoughts out in front of you rather than keeping them in your head and bouncing them around like ping pong balls. That is it could be stressful to see it, but at the same time, it's out of your head. So the chaos leaves your head and goes onto paper at that point. And then you could choose one thing out of those to start creating action for. So I talk about the difference between setting big goals and just creating some sort of action. And when we're in overwhelm, we're in a survival state. So I want you to just do something. We can't see big picture. We're not in a creative state where there's no flow. There's just stress. So just pick something, maybe pick it out of a hat, and just do it. Or wherever you're experiencing that overwhelm, move to a different room or go outside, literally change your environment, because that negative overwhelm thought can change and you can get distracted from it when you leave the space that you had that thought or overwhelm.
It's awesome. I love the emphasis on environment too. Like we're such visually triggered creatures, you know? That's such a product of our environment.
We are. We are such a product of our environment. And that kind of brings us back to, you know, the beginning of our talk about if we were to create, you know, our ADHD space, what would it look like? Right?
Outdoors.
Like the caveman period. Outdoors, country leaves, a chair.
There's something about
A
staring
chair.
at a fire, you know? When you're staring at a fire, I feel like it's
It
the
is
same
so,
thing.
the sizzling. Yes, you could just get lost in the light.
Pure observing.
Yeah.
It's like one sense store. That's meditation, you know? Oh, Brooke.
Oh
you
my
have
God, it's so
much
peaceful. Another thing
stuff.
that is, thank you. Another thing that I just want to share is like you could take a bath in the middle of the day. There is no shame in taking a bath. Like 2:30 hits, my dopamine levels drop, my progesterone gets low, and I'm right in the bath or in the shower, not because I'm dirty, but because I need to just chill the F out and relax and get my nervous system back and then be productive again. And my focus time and my productivity level is just like so much heightened. Last thing I'm going to say, and there's so much more, but for someone who's overwhelmed, you really need to stick to boundaries. So if you have too much on your plate, see what you can eliminate, see what you can delegate, see what you can break down, but really start with just creating small little actions.
Yeah. On that note of taking a bath, I've been taking naps like at like 4 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, yeah, just curling up in my cozy nest. That's been my hyperfixation this week. Was I have become obsessed with this like idea of like blue gothic. And it's, you know, it's spooky month. I want to get into my like full alt girl vibes. And I've decided I want to make my bed into this like gothic nest. And so I found like blue mesh fabric, and I dyed some fabric I found at the thrift store, and I've got like string lights, and I'm just going to create this like cozy dark place that I can go to. And I had a like random idea and followed through with it.
Oh, yeah.
That's
go
awesome. And you
Good job.
legitimately finished it too. Not only did you start it, but you finished it. Huge.
Well, almost. The fabric's dyed. I haven't pinned it up yet. We're partway through. We're on the roll, though.
Baby steps. Hey, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm just having a huge realization because you're talking about celebrating those steps along the way. You just said that, right? And I was like, oh my gosh. I was going to ask about discipline, but I think that when you look at it from discipline, like when I think about discipline, I just want to die. You know, it seems like some unachievable goal.
Like, I don't want to be disciplined. Yeah.
It's like homework energy.
I know
Someone
it's
said
not
that.
what you were saying, but yeah.
But yeah, I think reframing it into small, little achievable steps. That's more like, what are you talking about? You're talking
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
But,
And that's why it's called 12 steps, because if you try to do it all at once, you know what happens. You know, you're either going to burn out or you're going to fall flat on your face. You're not going to reach it. And just those little micro steps make a macro change in the long run. They really do. Like if and I know this is so cliche, but like if I said, okay, Ben, like tomorrow you're going to run a marathon. Okay.
Go, mate. No. Oh, it's scary.
Yeah, like maybe you can do it, but your body won't thank you afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just like be kind to ourselves. And we're unfortunately too often, because of our past traumas, we're not kind enough to ourselves, and we're not the same type of kind. We don't give ourselves the same grace that we do other people. So treat ourselves like a baby, give ourselves grace, and just think about like what you as a person needs. Yeah.
But we do have this all or nothing mindset, right? We want to do it all. And it's like, if we're not doing it all, then it's like, well, fuck it all.
Exactly. And that's why, like, if you can trick your brain somehow, for instance, when I wrote my book, I was 5 years in the making of wanting to make this book. And I went on YouTube And I said, how do you write a book? Because I've heard all of these ways of doing it. And some guy's like, you can write a book in 72 hours using ChatGPT. I was like, okay. So I tricked my brain into thinking I was going to write a quality book in 72 hours. I was telling all my coaches, I'm like, oh yeah, this book's going to be out in 3 days. Like, don't you worry, just wait. 7 months later, that wasn't the case. But at least I started like you, Addie. Like I said, you know what? I'm not going to make this so big. I'm going to trick myself into really like thinking that this is going to take 72 hours. But then once I got into it, I was like, come on. You can't write a quality book in 72 hours. But at least I have some framework here. And at least I have the confidence in knowing that I have something, and now I'm starting to build momentum with those small little steps along the way.
Yeah.
Wow, I absolutely love that. Wow, I'm so mind blown. Seriously, I don't know. You're just full of fun facts, and I'm so into fun facts.
Thank you.
Know?
Thank you.
And maps now. I always needed a map. God damn it! Thanks for the map. I'm gonna get.
Oh my gosh! But you never followed it, right?
Well, like, I mean, like, I think I was just lost, you know, just lost in the woods. And then you come along like a golden beam, like, hello, here is a map. Don't you worry.
You are, Ben.
Stop watching those YouTube
I am
shorts
the
about
queen
discipline.
of coaching.
Take little steps.
Just do. Just act, right? Just do something. And then you start to build along the way. Promise.
What I'm going to take home with me is celebrate those small wins and take little steps. Get it all out on paper. Download it out. Get the chaos out of your mind and then choose one thing. Just one thing from that list. You said pick it out of a jar and then take action on that. And then you're moving, and then you can know you're in a good trajectory. Then all you need is that one little win, and then boom. That's
dopamine
the cycle building.
Snowball.
Oh my
100%. And I appreciate that feedback. And I also want to just say, whoever can support you along the way, like whether it be a friend or your Discord community or our Discord community or whatever, like that is so important as far as building that momentum. Have someone take this journey with you.
Like voice your goals or like your actions, whatever you're working on, to other people. So that
Yeah, exactly. So you and they can be your mirror, like you said. You got this. Look at you. And then you support them too through their momentum building journey as well.
Yeah, like I've told my friends and now our 4,000 plus listeners that I'm making my little bed nest, so I have to do it now.
Yeah, you do.
Just make, you know what's so funny? I just interviewed someone from my Thursday activation course. She was 6 weeks in out of 12, which is this program. And she was like, I started making my bed 3 days in a row. And that wasn't even my goal of coming to your program. It just kind of happened because I started getting motivated. And I'm like, that's so cool. You know, like you just don't know by focusing on yourself and really taking care of yourself what other little diamonds in the rough are going to pop up. So you deserve it.
I feel like there's a part of our
Well,
body.
it's been
Go make your bed.
Yeah. It's been so good
like
having you on.
Yeah.
Brooke.
It really has.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. And Ben, it's so nice meeting you.
Yeah,
and
really
Addie,
nice
just
to
know
meet
that you don't have to like legitimately make your bed. You could just throw the blanket over and call that making your bed too. And that's a small win.
Oh, I love that.
Oh.
Love the blanket.
Take all the pillows off and just put the blanket over.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to pretend I'm a wizard throwing my robe down. Thanks for doing what you do, Brooke. Seriously, I'm so passionate about just helping people have access to helpful information that hasn't been there before this like decade, basically. Like such good information, practical, applicable, and I really appreciate what you're doing, your book, your course, your podcast. Like, you do so many things, your army of coaches, you know. So thanks for doing what you do, and
Thank you.
we're so glad to have you come and join us today, and I
Thank
just
you
really
so much.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah,
continue to
so-
activate your ADHD potential, peeps.
Yeah, listeners, keep loving yourself hardcore, and we'll put a link to Brooke's book in the description, and we love you very much. Take it easy, crew. See you later.
Thanks. Bye 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 bye.
Bye. Doodly-doo-doo.